"Hi, this is Phil Jerky. I want mayonnaise on my burger."
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tether Radio Podcast, the only podcast keeping you from spiraling out into the infinite abyss. Let's see, today's episode is episode 16 or 15?
16.
16.
1-6.
16.
Sweet 16.
Ooh, there's actually going to be a somewhat of a theme for the number 16 for one of our stories.
Yeah. Wow, man, that one just slipped right in.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. So, let's see. I'm coming at you from Knoxville, Tennessee, and Joseph, aka Carmen Sandiego. Where are you coming from, dude?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm in Dallas, Texas today. Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
Oh yes. And if anybody's been watching the news, crazy storms in Dallas, Texas. And yeah, man, I had a little adventure here. Didn't get in till super late on Friday. Got to walk down the 114 to a hotel that was miles away because the 114 was flooded. So it was good, man.
So the weather's been good.
nice little kickoff to the weekend, you know.
Yeah, right.
Nothing like hoofing it in a torrential downpour.
Torrential, nice.
Nothing like hoofing it in a torrential downpour. You know? Wait, I think we've already talked about that. But man, that subreddit gets me every time, dude.
It's amazing, man. Bone apple teeth. Or no, I guess it's bone apple tea. Yeah.
Bone apple tea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's truck on. Well, quickly, your week, good?
My week, so it was a long week. Megan was out on Monday and Tuesday pretty much. All day Tuesday and half day Monday. She was traveling down to Atlanta for work, and that left me with the nugget, the fin nugget, for about 36 hours by myself, which is mildly taxing. So
yeah, man.
But
yeah, well, what doesn't kill us?
Yeah, right. But yeah, dude, wrapped up the week. And then my MacBook Pro decided to kick the bucket last night, so that was kind of some shit. But we're going to I think we're going to go over to the Apple Store today and right this wrongdoing of by nature.
Just let yourself go through the stages of grief, you know.
Yeah. Right.
First is rage, I think. So.
Yeah. Oh no, dude, I was raging last night, man.
Yeah.
Because the freaking volunteers decided to not show up to the Tennessee-Florida game, so that sucked. So if I sound mildly,
you're being Mr. Negative, man. Yeah, I think we need to.
Where,
man, in my balls, in my computer. No, but I totally understand. I understand. So you know, when it rains, it pours, man. But you gotta keep on trucking.
There you go, man.
So, dude, tell us, kick us off here. Sounds like that we've got some really, really odd, I don't know, weather, strong wind down in South Florida. What's going on? What was going on down there?
I think this is the first reported case of this, but I pulled this from the West Palm Beach. I guess it's WPTV. They're like Channel 5. They're local news. But it was a Fort Pierce woman claims wind blew cocaine into her purse. So this lady, she gets like pulled over, and the police said that they smelled marijuana in the car, so they decided to perform a search. Well, so they basically look in her purse and she has 2 separate bags, one filled with coke and the other filled with weed. And so they're like, okay, so you're in possession of 2 illegal drugs. What do you have to say about that? Literally, according to the police report, she said, "It's a windy day. It must have flown through the window and into my purse."
I mean, yeah, dude, it could happen.
I have dropped small bags and they've been blown by the wind, Let nature take its course, and maybe I'm going to start carrying a purse and hoping that it'll blow random drugs into it.
All right, dude, and then just quickly sell them for a nice little come up,
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody knows, dude. Don't get high on your own supply, even if it's supplied by the wind.
Yeah. Even if nature decides to smile on you.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Just don't go there, man. Don't go there. But anyway. it's so I wonder if that's like a direct quote though. Did she? I mean, is it one of these things where like the cops like, let me guess, the wind blew it in there, and she's like, yeah, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's not like they say, they saw it on like whatever the cops like chest cam or whatever. They just said that was what was put in the police report. So fake news.
No. The thing that's funny about this to me, how did anyone hear of this? Like, think of the number of people that get arrested. Right? Are journalists combing through,
Dude, I bet it's not journalists, it's interns.
Yeah, well, and somebody's just like, stupid shit people say when they get arrested. You know what I mean?
Well, I bet it's kind of like the News of the Weird that was in the Metro Pulse in Knoxville for a while.
Oh, the Metro Pulse.
Yeah.
Why bring up the Metro Pulse? I still miss the Metro Pulse.
I know, dude. And that was probably Knoxville's best publication, so
yeah,
it's not really saying much, but
it's donezo. No, I love the Metro Pulse, man. Our band was in the Metro Pulse multiple times.
Yeah. But all right.
So then let's move on here to pro sports.
Yeah, dude.
So big news out of Cleveland this week.
Big news out of Cleveland. So, and this is kind of ridiculous that I'm even covering this because, and I'm not really covering, I'm mentioning it, but I don't even keep up with NFL stuff in the least, but I just thought that this was really fun, and I found myself, watching lots of videos about this the other day because it was just really funny to watch. But, so the Cleveland Browns had a very rough 2017 season. By very rough, I mean they literally had not won a game since 2016, and so once they played the Jets, and I was trying to look to see. Let's see. So that would have been, I guess they played on Thursday or Friday, something like that. But anyway, yeah, so they, what happened was Budweiser decided that they were going to put all these, coolers around the Cleveland Browns stadium, and then like different random bars in Cleveland. And they said they were locked, and they said as soon as Cleveland wins their first season victory, like a regular season victory, that's free, all this beer's for free for Cleveland fans, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so, lo and behold, man, they bested the Jets, and, dude, you really need to go watch some of these, like, videos, cause it's absolutely hilarious how fucking stoked these people were to like get into this, like these coolers of Bud Light, man.
So the coolers, the coolers are stocked. Mm-hmm. The beer is free.
Beer's free, yeah. And
so
they actually said,
is it just Bud Light pandemonium?
Yeah, no, it literally
Bud Light pandemonium.
They not bust open, but they open the coolers and just start handing out like literally handfuls of beer, and it's just getting like fucking thrown, and it literally was Bud Light pandemonium. So,
and I'll tell you what, man, that's what I call my Wednesdays. So.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, oh shit, is it Bud Light pandemonium already?
No,
this
dude,
week's flown by.
You really do need to go watch some videos. And any listeners out there that are looking to burn a little bit of time, man, I'm telling you, look up some
any
of the videos
that are looking to burn a couple hours. Spend a couple hours watching Bud Light pandemonium videos, dude.
Exactly.
You will not regret it. It's the little things, you know?
Exactly, dude. Exactly. But
it's the little things.
Anywho, so moving on from this, you've got, so I covered some light tidbits. But yeah, dude, let's just jump into it and go all ins on the Brett Kavanaugh shenanigans.
Yeah, well, I mean, I say everyone knows. So the way that our podcast comes together is that Daniel and I will share articles, and just, through discourse throughout the week, we'll start to pull out what we think are some some interesting stories. Sometimes it's, kind of news of the weird stuff. Sometimes it's stuff that we think warrants a little deeper discussion. And sometimes it's just, kind of flat out hot button stuff, hot button topics that we think might be interesting. And so we thought we would be, we would absolutely touch on this Brett Kavanaugh situation. Man, super multifaceted, really complicated. And it's, I think this is something that you and I both agree on. Like, it's new. There are so many really pivotal, important things that are happening day to day, right? And like, you've got to make sure that as we're kind of being a thinking citizen, that you're, as much as possible, you're collecting as much information about your world as possible to make, as informed decisions as you possibly can. And I think that this is one of those situations where it's like, this is a big deal, man. I mean, this guy is being nominated for the Supreme Court, a lifetime appointment, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just really interesting to see how a topic like this, unbelievably complicated, is just kind of tossed around in the media. And people, and I think on both sides, really just kind of like jumping to conclusions. And obviously there's like this timeline. I mean, this thing is like high drama and like a pretty fascinating topic here. So, I'll start to peel the onion a little bit, for those that may or may not be familiar with the situation. But basically in July, right? So we are now into kind of knocking on October's door here. But in July, Dianne Feinstein receives a confidential complaint, right? That this woman who went to high school with Brett Kavanaugh was groped by Brett Kavanaugh in the 1980s, right? And the letter specifically alleges that Kavanaugh climbed on top of her at a party, right? And held her down and groped her, right? And so then in late August, so Dianne Feinstein gets this confidential complaint in July. In August, Kavanaugh's accuser, this lady whose last name is Ford. Let me make sure I've got her name right. Christine Ford. She decides to stay quiet, right? And so she was quoted as saying by WAPO, Washington Post, why suffer through the annihilation if it's not going to matter, right? Like, why go through this if it's not going to matter? So in early September 12th, Feinstein shares the story with Democrats. September 13th, Feinstein says she sent information about Kavanaugh to FBI. September 14th, Kavanaugh denies the still anonymous claim. September 16th, Ford reveals her identity. September 17th, Ford and Kavanaugh agree to testify. Okay. September 18th, Ford calls for an FBI investigation. September 19th, Trump says he wants Ford to testify. Right?
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, you and I were touching on this a little bit earlier. It's not that I guess I just want to kind of outline, in my opinion, what some of the crazy complexity is around this, because it's not like the things that you do when you're a teenager should just be exonerated, right? Like that it should just be like, whatever. I mean, you constantly hear the old kind of, I guess, platitude or whatever, boys will be boys. I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd, obviously. But it's really interesting that, I mean, obviously the timeline is suspect. However, the counter to that could very well be, because I was thinking about this last night, the counter to that could very well be, well, this person, Christine Ford, is thinking, well, look, this guy's going to be, like shaping law for the rest of his life at the highest federal level, and like this is revealing. This is like revelatory as people consider his character. Got it, right? And I also think that, no way would I say that this woman needs to be quiet. No way. No way, no how. I mean, if this happened and she wants to bring it up, of course she should bring it up without a doubt. But what's unfortunate about this situation are a couple of things. Number one, I can't help but it just really frustrates me, the like current environment where it's like, I don't know, human memories, man, are super, super flawed. Something that happened when, and I had this long conversation with my wife about this. I think
we've actually kind of discussed the whole memory stuff a little bit on here.
Yeah, we did.
I can't remember if it was an episode that we actually published, but anyway.
We did. And, I was talking to my wife, and I was just, like, asking her, like, how many of your friends have had, like, a similar situation? I think without a doubt we're coming to realize that sexual assault is underreported. Rape is underreported. I understand. I say understand. I can be I guess
you see why people wouldn't report it.
I can see why people wouldn't. Yeah. And I can be empathetic as I whatever. I don't want to go too far into assuming that I can, put myself in the situation of a female that's had this, or a person that's had this, happen to them. But I can understand why you may not come forward. I can understand how this would be embarrassing and whatever. But it's just really unfortunate when these things get into the political machine. Yeah. And they just get spun up and everybody's looking for, ammo. Yeah.
Everybody's trying to spin it for themselves kind of thing. And really address the principle of what is, the problem kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's one of the things that, and I think that's pretty obvious. The other thing that I think is just more kind of a practical observation is that, I hope what comes out of this, out of these kind of ancient, I don't know, these things that have happened far in the past being brought up, is I hope that we're kind of empowering, a current generation to like speak up when something happens. Yeah. For sure. And to maybe peel away some of the shame that comes with being a victim. I mean, I don't know exactly what I mean, but that's more kind of a more complicated, complicated thing there. But I guess my point is that it's like the statute of limitations is there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just, how insanely complicated this person comes together, comes and says this happened, like, without a doubt that whether you're conservative or not, that the conservative folks are all like, okay, so we need to get in touch with everybody that was possibly there when they were 16. Are you kidding me? And say, hey, this one random party, this person is saying that they were they were assaulted. Like, were you there? I mean, how do you even begin to, to kind of put that fire out if you're on the conservative side? Yeah. And so it's just, and now there are other people that are coming forward and saying, like, this was the culture back then, and this was, one of Kavanaugh's buddies has been writing about, high school keg parties, like fondly for the past 30 years and how crazy it was at their private school. So it's just a really complicated issue. But I guess let me form this into a question for you. Yeah. What do you think about someone coming with an accusation like this? 30 years, man. Actually, 30 years, right? Afterwards. The timing.
And that's where, I understand,
but should the timing be held against her? Because, like, honestly, like, think about it, right? If somebody had done something to you, and you're like, I just want to forget about it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, this person is in a position where they're going to have immense power.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm completely torn, but I'm saying that the timing is what I'm torn about.
Okay, so walk me through that real quickly.
All right. So obviously we've had this surge of I guess sexual assault and rape charges and all this stuff with like the Me Too movement and all that stuff.
Right.
So I see what you're saying in regards to, okay, it's like, I understand, first of all, what she was saying, that it's like, you know what, I don't even want to go, basically she said what you just said, that it's like, I kind of just want this to go away, so I'm not going to address it. I don't want to go through what I'd potentially have to go through, and so I get that. And I completely understand the fact that it's like, okay, this guy is being appointed for a lifetime, position on the Supreme Court. Okay. At like you said, the highest level of, litigation and, like regulations and all of that. And so I totally see.
Literally, shaping
law for the United States. So. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know, man. I'm such a cynic that it's just like, I really, that's a tough pill to swallow for me. That it's like, oh, well, all of a sudden it matters more because of something else. I think that it completely matters.
But let me play devil's advocate.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I was just gonna say, like, I completely understand. If this did occur, it completely matters and it should be known, But I think that so your timeline ended on September 19th. Do you know anything past that? Like, are they scheduled to testify?
She's testifying. She's testifying this Thursday.
So yeah, I think that's really,
I think that's the right move.
Yeah, completely. Because if she's not just making some BS allegation to thwart, an appointee, a nominee,
she should be heard.
Yeah, she should be heard. She should be heard, and her story be told, and lessons learned from it, kind of thing. And
absolutely, and something taken away about I guess something, he should have the opportunity to respond to these accusations with her in the room.
Yeah.
And, hard stop. Absolutely.
Yeah. And and I guess moving forward from this, there just needs to be, I don't know, obviously, like you said, I can't really speak to how I would act in a scenario like that because it's never occurred, it's never happened to me, and I've never been, a victim of sexual assault or rape or anything. So I don't know what I would do. But man,
but let me just play devil's advocate. Well, go ahead. You're going to make a point, but man.
Well, no, I was just going to say that. But I feel like this is one of these. People see this, and what they should take from this as a whatever. I mean, I'm pretty sure that. I can speak for myself. I know I'm never going to hold a super high position that my history is going to be vetted by all these people trying to keep me from receiving some position or whatever. But man, if I feel like the lesson of all of this is like, dude, if it happens, report it now. Don't wait, report it, because how do we know that if she would have reported that 30 years ago? I mean, how do we know what he's affected up to this point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she could have derailed him way, way back then, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
I don't know, man. But
so I actually, I think just playing dev. So first of all, the guy should, if the guy has had a career that has led
Brett Kavanaugh.
Brett Kavanaugh. If he has had a career that's led him to this, stage where he's being elected for or being nominated for the Supreme Court. Yeah. That's awesome. That's excellent. It's a prestigious nomination. He's conservative. Like his policy is the assumptions on how he'll guide law is like, it makes sense that Trump would nominate this guy. Like it really, it's the end to kind of a really illustrious career. Awesome. This is fantastic. But I just think that just playing devil's advocate here, I actually on both sides, right? If you look hard enough, you're going to find something on most people. Yeah. And I think that most things you can kind of wrap in a different context and can be, different, right? Like,
well, especially if it hasn't happened even remotely recently.
Right. Yeah. And so it's just like, and by the way, this is not meant to be, victim shaming or,
by any stretch, whatever. Man.
Well, look, dude, if this happened, of course, she should talk about it. She should bring it up. She should report it, whatever. But it's like, okay, somebody's at a party and, people are 16 and they're drinking Bush beer or whatever in 1987.
Jungle juice.
And they're standing there and they're like, I dare you to grab Christine's boob. And she's like standing in front of him and she's like, they're like, no. And she's like, do it. And they're like, no. And one of her friends is like, do it, Christine, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like that happens at 16 and then it gets kind of morphed through time into something where as a kid, again, it just, the context is different. Yeah. Right? Like, who knows what the context was 30 years ago. The people that are recalling the situation are not recalling the situation even remotely accurately. Yeah. And actually, let me just retell that quick story. So, but long story short, NYU professor, this is what we talked about on the podcast, I think, that NYU professor, when 9/11 happened, called or sent an email out to some of his students and said, please send me an email explaining where you are and how you heard about the tragedies today. Yeah. And then he circled back with them. Was it 10 years later? I think it was 10 years later.
Yeah, I want to say it was 10.
Circled back with them 10 years later and said, hey, do you remember where you were on 9/11? and not one of these accounts was even remotely accurate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So something as impactful as 9/11, or the JFK assassination or whatever, these stories had just morphed into way more colorful, recounts.
Well, isn't there something in regards to like your brain, obviously memories deteriorate over time, and your brain, to keep it making sense, basically fills in the gaps.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yes. But
just so that it is a cohesive story kind of thing.
This is true. But the shitty part about that is it sounds like what you're saying is, she just doesn't remember it properly. Well, she may.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She totally may. But it's just, I mean, honestly, man, it's like one of these things where all the way around the table, it's just a shitty situation, right? This guy gets smeared. She gets smeared.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, there was like an article that came out last week talking about how a Yale law professor, I don't know if it was Christine Ford or somebody that was just in her camp, or, somebody had reported that a Yale law professor would coach up the female law students that wanted to clerk for Kavanaugh to like look a certain way because Kavanaugh liked a model look or something was like the quote. And it's just like, you get into this and it's just fucking absurd, man. I mean, of course, like if I'm a male clerk, right? I'm gonna be like, what kind of person is this? What kind of stuff do they like? What's gonna give me this best, the best
100%
dude in there? And it's like, to think that women don't use sex appeal to do that. I mean, why would you not? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying
it works.
Well, that's a topic for a different day.
I'm saying it works for I would almost go as far as to say the vast majority of males. So.
Well, right, the reason
especially these for some reason horn dogs that end up in high political positions.
Well, and what I was going to say is, even evolutionarily speaking, man, I mean, this is why lipstick is red and you put it on your lips. You know what I mean? This is why high-heeled shoes are a thing, right? I mean, this is why people consider these things, humans consider these things like, attractive on a deeper level is because they represent certain, primal things, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, we need to move on from this, but I think that, I think the outcome to date is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, this person has come forward. I like the fact that she is, going to be heard. I like the fact that this is going to be considered, in his kind of the assessment of this person's character. Like, if this woman feels that this truly happened and that this is important, she should be heard for sure. Yeah. And she's getting the audience to do that. And I think that's excellent. But I think it definitely begs this kind of bigger question. When is it just too far away to be able to recall anything that's of any value,
Well, in addition to, go ahead.
By the way, this is not going to block this dude. It's not going to happen.
No
way, shape, or form do I believe for 1 second that this accusation, it's going to
have any effect.
Oh no, it's going to be he said, she said,
and it's going to get thrown out. So.
Well, it's not even going to get thrown out. I think people are just going to say that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I guess, so at very most, they're going to be like, people change, or excuse me, at very most, they're going to be like, okay, maybe it happened, but people change, times change. And at very least, they're going to be like, doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Well, and one last point real quick. The thing that kind of kills me about all of this stuff is, and I feel like this happens with more than, it happens with freaking everything. Because like you said, everybody's looking for ammo in the political realm. And if you can spin something and make it political and turn that into ammunition, they always do it.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's just, and then in my opinion, you're losing the actual principle of the matter, that it's like this person allegedly sexually assaulted this other person. That has zero to do with politics, but it's been, you know, obviously spun to the extent that it's, you know, we are where we are now. So, but anyway,
well, it's just I mean, here's the takeaway, right? If you have kids now, just encourage them to, you know, if something happens to them, to say it, right?
Yeah.
Just to, and like, if something happens to you, just like tell someone, right? Like, even if for whatever reason you can't wrap your mind around this traumatic thing that happened, like, tell somebody, you know, timestamp it, send an email, do something, you know, to kind of, so it's just, you know, I mean, things are very, very different now, but, anyway, it's just it's a really, interesting hot button issue, and you know, I thought it'd be interesting to bring up. So
for sure.
So dude, we've talked about Fortnite a couple of times on this.
Honestly,
podcast.
it's like all encompassing.
It keeps being brought up. So what's going on? What's going on with this?
Well, the latest, I feel like we just need to start having like a Fortnite segment on here, that it's like, I'll read through patch notes and shit, and like,
most people have a Fortnite segment in their life, dude.
Yeah. And the best part about it is, like, I mean, hell, dude, I game very frequently, and I've played this game like twice, and I don't understand why it's as big of a deal as it is, but it's beside the point. So, I pulled this article from Fox News, and the title was, Man of 45 threatened to shoot 11-year-old after losing Xbox game. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, this shit was just like, I mean, it's just insane. It really is. But anyway, so this guy, his name's Michael Alaperti, or I think that's how it's pronounced. But anyway, he's playing Fortnite, and I guess against this 11-year-old kid, and he loses to him.
Right.
Well, so Alaperti starts sending threatening texts and online voice messages to the kid, okay? And it basically escalates to the point to where he allegedly threatens to shoot the boy at his school. So
what?
Yes. And so it goes from, hey, I'm sure some salty language, because any kind of multiplayer shit, everybody's always, you know, throwing shit at each other. But anyway, so he straight up threatened to shoot this kid at the kid's school. So then he skipped the first thing that is just, I'm going to shoot the kid kind of thing. And he says at the school. So then it goes from, you know, threatening a person to threatening a public facility kind of thing. And I mean, fuck, dude, with all these school shootings and stuff, it's like, seriously? That's where you're going with this? But anyway, I mean, it's just absolutely insane to me. So anyway, the police get called. They show up. They find a plastic pellet gun in his house. And so they charged him with second-degree aggravated assault and acting in a manner to injure a child. And then they ended up putting like an increased like police presence at the kid's school, because they're like, hey, you know, we can't be too cautious about this. So yeah, man. And so which I thought further down the article is just kind of funny to me, because it was like, okay, so this dude really fucked up.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, I think that can be said without debate kind of thing.
Right.
But his lawyer said, salty language is a two-way street, and it's normal behavior in the gaming community. He also said that Alaperti is going through, in quotation marks, a bitter divorce. And I was just like, what? So you're going through a shitty divorce, so you get on and play Fortnite and threaten some fucking like kid to shoot him at his school.
I mean, dude, what a moron! It's
dude,
it's crazy.
You look at this fucking mugshot too. Like, do you have the article up by chance? It's not a big deal if you don't.
I'm pulling it up.
But it's just like, dude, he looks like one of the B-list actors on like,
oh my God.
Right? He literally looks like one of the B-list actors on like Goodfellas or something.
It looks like they're like Michael, stop crying.
Yeah.
Stop, Michael, stop. Like, I need you to stop.
Yeah. We need you to open your eyes and stop crying.
I need you to stop crying and don't squint. Man.
Dude, it's just no words, man.
I don't know though, because like if you get on 4chan,
mm-hmm.
or you get on some of these gaming boards,
mm-hmm.
the culture, I don't even want to use the word culture, but I guess that is the way to explain it. The culture is like is gnarly.
It's
like,
dude, it's that came along with like the internet and just being able to being able to be somewhat of have an anonymous presence. Yeah. And just basically not be held accountable for how you act, kind of thing.
Right.
Because it's just, which is an even bigger discussion, but because I can't stand that stuff, and I don't normally, if I'm playing like some kind of online game, I am not using voice chat because, dude, people are just fucking terrible. They really are, for the vast majority, at least. Not vast majority, I would say majority, but yeah, man, it's just and I don't really know what to do. I think that I think that there's a bunch of different things playing into that.
Right.
I think a lack of parenting is at the forefront, in my opinion. But and just like whatever, people just throwing their kid in front of a screen just because they want to do something else. They don't want the responsibility of a child, basically.
Right.
But dude, it's just
it's I don't know. I think you're only going to see more occurrences of just this totally bizarre behavior as more people spend time in, like, you know, until being in a virtual reality is the norm.
Yeah.
And behavior gets normalized to that new experience. You're going to see this like crazy shit, this like outlier stuff for sure.
Completely, dude.
Speaking of spending more time online.
Yeah.
This article I thought was pretty interesting. The title of the article is that, it says former Google CEO predicts the internet will split in two. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you just a brief overview of the article, and then we'll start to kind of skin some different perspectives here. Mm-hmm. But, so Eric Schmidt, who was the former Google CEO, was speaking at a private event,
mm-hmm.
And he got into he was asked the question, you know, what's the chance, say, in 10 to 15 years we have just 3 to 4 separate internets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a guy, this economist, that asked the question, and basically what he was picking at is, you know, is it possible that, you know, the internet is fragmenting into will be fragmented into different sub-internets with different regulations and like limited access between the internets,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the nugget of the question. And so Schmidt goes on to answer that, oh yeah, totally, like this is absolutely going to happen. But he sees more of a bifurcation of the internet,
mm-hmm.
between, China and then the rest of the world, right?
Yeah.
And you know, some of the points that he brings up as he's, you know, answering this thing is that, you know, just the scale of China, right? And the scale of China within the context of the way that their socio-political system is configured, he thinks that there will be this kind of bifurcation of the internet. Now, what I think is interesting is, I understand broadly what the economist is kind of picking at, but we're already there. Without a doubt, we are already there. Like
just in regards to like almost censorship in China, kind of
without a doubt.
Or hell, and in America, I don't know why.
Google is a censor. Google is a censor.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've talked about this numerous times. Twitter is a censor.
Yeah.
Instagram is a censor. Like, people don't understand this. The internet is not open now.
Yeah.
And like, you make a choice for it not to be open, and you make a choice because you love all the like bells and whistles that are in Chrome.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, most people, I would say 99% of people.
Yeah.
Maybe a little lower, maybe 97% or something.
Yeah.
Are using, Yahoo, Bing, Chrome,
Dogpile. No, just kidding.
Yeah. Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves.
Most of us are asking Jeeves.
Yeah.
That's
Jeevesy boy.
No, but can't even believe that shit was real.
Yeah, right.
Those are different times.
That was the Wild West of search engines.
Yeah, man. When they were like, no, trust me, in the marketing meeting, no, he's got to be a butler. He's got to be like a butler that you ask things,
Yeah.
And they're like, God damn it, Smith, you're a fucking genius.
Yeah.
You're going to the top of AJ Incorporated. So
that's awesome.
So
yeah,
we're already there.
Yeah.
I mean, without a doubt, we're already there. Censorship is happening at scale. And this is not tinfoil hat talk. Like, this is reality. Alex Jones was banned. Like, that's censorship,
Yeah, I saw that he actually got, I think PayPal isn't working with him now anymore or something.
Man. Yeah.
Like, he's literally getting ousted by, like, anyone and everyone.
Dude, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. Like, the guy is a fucking nut job. Like, undeniable. Some of the stuff that this man comes up with is just totally bizarre, right?
Yeah.
And he'll say stuff that's just like, I have filmed, or he'll say like, I have seen lizard people with my own eyes, right? And then he'll say, well, not with my own eyes, or he'll say, or I would have seen lizard people with my own eyes had I been standing. You know what I mean? Like, he'll make this like really absurd comment, and
then like slowly backtrack. Kind of thing.
And it's like it's just like a hook. It's like a soundbite hook. Like, the dude's like king of sound bites,
Oh my god!
And he's just whatever. He's like whatever. We don't want to get off on Alex Jones, but my point is that like, we're already in a place that's being censored, and I think that people and like, I'm saying by the strictest terms, right? So like, you don't hear the F word on popular radio. Yeah. Right? Like, that's censorship. You know what I mean? So it's like,
so are they saying, and I'm going to kind of, I guess, repeat this just to make sure that I'm on the same page. But so he's saying a bifurcation of, Chinese-led internet and non-Chinese, internet that's led by America. So basically just cutting us off to what China would. I mean, that's kind of how
what he's saying. So obviously, if you zoom out on any system, right, everything's a closed system. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you're on Mars, Earth's a closed system, right? Yeah. If you're in the middle of Earth and you can't see the forest for the trees, then an open internet is, possible, right?
Yeah.
And so what he's saying is that there will be different infrastructures. Excuse me, not different infrastructures, different internets that will run at different speeds, have different rules. They will have different rules of the game.
Yeah.
And these internets may or may not well, I guess they'd be intranets at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
These intranets may or may not be connected and may or may not be connected well, right? And some may be censored and some may be open and some may be, but we're already there. Like the dark web is real. It's there.
So what would this be? What would this be?
Right. I think what he's suggesting, is that it'll be like commonly known. You know what I mean? Like on like a Chinese internet, for example, you might not be able to slander the Chinese president.
Yeah.
Like, Twitter, like a baby Twitter, could exist, but you can't use the tool in the same way that you could use it in, the free internet or whatever.
Yeah.
And so
it's kind of just giving more control to those two entities, right?
It would be that the experience, I guess is the best way to put it. The experience on different internets will be very different.
Yeah.
And so I think really though, like I said, when I say we're already there, what I mean is we're tacitly there now. It will just be explicit moving. Like it's like, it will just be, you'll know. When you go to China, you can't do certain things, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just blocked from even starting to download something or whatever altogether. But I mean, again, this is already happening. Like if you go to China, there are certain websites you can't hit, right? If you're in Europe, you can't stream like Netflix or whatever, right?
Okay.
Well, maybe you can stream Netflix, but there are some streaming services you can't use when you're in Europe. So anyway, I just think it's going to be really interesting, and not to go back and like harp on this yet again, but I just genuinely am pretty passionate about this topic. I mean, the salvation will be, without a doubt, decentralized architecture. Without a doubt. Without a doubt, man. I mean, it will be the way that people will need to migrate to distributed architecture to have some sense of, freedom of thought and kind of freedom of expression.
Yeah.
By the way, on this note, before we hop on to the next topic, I read the other day, who was it? Maybe it was there's a guy in the Bitcoin community named Andreas Antonopoulos. Canadian.
That name sounds familiar for some reason.
He wrote this book called Mastering Bitcoin. They're like, there's a called Mastering Bitcoin. It kind of breaks down the way that Bitcoin works and kind of gets into, it's more of a as I remember, it's kind of more of a high level description of like what blockchains are and what Bitcoin is and how it works, and specifically what the Bitcoin blockchain does. And I think it's like, it's superficially technical. It's not like getting into like what SHA-256 is, what the, what the cryptography behind Bitcoin is. I don't think it gets into that. But anyway, long story short, the guy's a security expert, and he's been a talking head in the Bitcoin community for a while. And one of the things that he said was, and I hope I'm not misattributing this, but I think I read that he said the other day, he's like, look, this is the last free generation. Without a doubt, this is the last free generation. This is the last. Right now, the people that are living, like, they are going to have the experience that they recall, right? Is that's it. Now, because now it's like your face is being filmed all the time. Your fingerprint is being used to unlock your devices. And you can't walk that back.
Yeah.
And so, I don't disagree, dude. I don't disagree. Like your kid, the reality that your kid grows up in, he is never, ever, ever going to have the sense of being like, and I'm saying, being, how should I say this? He is never ever going to have the sense of being, not alone, but having like private time.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I mean.
Well, he'll never experience privacy like we experience it right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
No, not even like we experience it right now.
Or like we did.
Right. Correct.
10 years ago.
That's correct. Like when you were, you know, I can remember being 15. I'm not that old, man. You know? Yeah. I can remember 15 and being like, I'm going to go for a walk. And like, you know,
didn't have a cell phone.
That's right. Well,
you didn't have,
let me back that when I was 12, you know, maybe 12. But I can remember like, you know, dude, when we lived super far out in the country, right? You could just be like, I'll go for a walk. And you could, and people were not connected in the same way, for better or worse, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, the people that are coming into the world now, they're never going to know that. And I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just a fact, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's always really funny because, you know, you talk to like mom and dad's generation and they're like, you know, whatever, watching the world burn. You talk to our generation, when we get to their age, we'll be watching the world burn. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, everybody has this like, insatiable hunger for like nostalgia and just like simpler times kind of thing.
Yeah. And I heard somebody say this, one time and I thought it was really an awesome point in some weird way. Yeah. Because human beings are, you know, kind of think on a higher level and, you know, have the ability to, you know, process, you know, really, kind of existential questions at a different level, or to even think existentially, right? To think past like kind of physical self or whatever. In some weird way, like people probably want the end of their times or think that the end of their times are going to be the end of times. Cause it's hard for us to like conceptualize, you know, we can like think on this higher kind of metaphysical level, but it's hard for us to like mentally go beyond the reality.
A world without us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. A 24-hour cycle of like you, you know, and so, you know, anyway, I always love that quote that people secretly think that like the end of their times will be the end of times.
No, dude, totally. And I mean, it makes sense because it's like, how do you view a world without you when you are the perspective?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Where you're never seeing it in any other way than, you know, past the bridge of your own nose. But anyway, I am really intrigued by technology and the architecture of technology right now, because you know, I think again most humans would be like, you know, my times are the most interesting times, and you know, that is you know, I guess largely true when you're seeing electricity for the first time or whatever, but now I just think that we are seeing such a fundamental shift in our understanding of what technology like is and the impact that it's having. You know, we talked about this a lot. The internet's not that old, right? Yeah. And I think much in the same way, I think this is a great analog, but much in the same way that people marched off to World War I and fought it like other wars. And you had these just absurdly high casualty rates because, you know, people couldn't conceptualize, you know, what a machine gun meant in context. Yeah. Right? So it's like this idea, like people knew that machine guns were real, right? And that war had been kind of industrialized. Like this was something, you know, that military planners and whatever people knew at the time, but people were just slaughtered because, you know, you'd have a situation where, you know, there's like a famous case where like the New Zealand army showed up on like a beachhead to fight, and they had like lances, you know, and they were fighting against machine guns, and they were just like completely slaughtered, the entire or the majority of the New Zealand army or whatever. And it's like, I think that is absolutely an analog for what is happening to like the human psyche within the context of technology today. Yeah. That we have no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes and how big of a deal this is and how dangerous it is to even, I mean, to like stare at a screen for the amount of time.
Yeah.
I mean, right now in my life, I'm coding 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that's affecting my sleep. You know, I don't know if that's like leading me to an early grave, and that's just staring at a screen. Yeah. That's not, you know, we're not even factoring in the advent of the infinite scroll.
Yeah.
To, like, keep your ass hooked on your app, you know?
Yeah, or the augmented reality and all that, you know?
Yeah,
it's
man.
Like once you start opening that can. But,
yeah, so internet splitting in two, like, absolutely believe that, absolutely. And we're just in this, we're gonna get to see, you know, if anything, just some really, really interesting wrestling back and forth with, you know, keeping human society kind of as free as possible, you know, within the context of you know, this cat and mouse kind of game between people that want to censor things and, you know, want to kind of pare the internet back, and then those that want to, you know, create these you know, walls and moats. So anyway, very, very cool article. We'll post this on the website and people can dig in a little bit deeper, but let's truck on. So you and I have talked a couple of times about Defense Distributed. The company out of Austin, Texas. So do you want to kick this off? There was some like really interesting / troubling / frankly kind of bizarre news around this. So walk us through what happened this week with those guys.
Yeah, man. So Defense Distributed, I guess company out of Austin, Texas, founded by a dude by the name of Cody Wilson. We spoke about him putting blueprints for 3D designs for basically being able to 3D print what's known as the Liberator, and it's like a single shot gun. And
so you're not talking about the sex pillow?
Yeah, right. I'm not talking about the fleshlight model. I'm talking about the
Do you know what I'm talking about? There's like this absurd pillow that has like these geometric shapes in it, and you can like fold this pillow so that like
so you can like bang it.
So you can achieve any angle with your partner, you know? And it's called the Liberator. Anyway.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, it
sounds pretty liberating. So.
Yeah, it's I think anyway. I think if you Google Liberator, be specific.
Yeah, right.
It's called the Houseman Positioning Wedge System, or the Liberator,
or the Liberator. I think the Liberator rolls off the tongue a little better.
This is great. Hold on, this is great. So I'm sorry, dude. Sorry for
wrecking. No, you're good.
But the Houseman Positioning Web System, or Wedge System, is it's actually for rehab. Right, for rehabbing.
So, yeah.
But
it can also be used for.
It's also been readdressed for those that want to be more sexually free. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, so bringing us back to the Liberator in the sense of the single shot gun of whose design is distributed by. Yeah, 3D printed pistol, of whose blueprints can be acquired from Defense Distributed. So this was like a big deal because originally the government had tried to bring a lawsuit against Defense Distributed because they were saying, oh well, you could you put these 3D blueprints online. Potentially, you could be exporting these, or not exporting. Terrorists, and just undesirables could acquire these. Even people internationally could acquire these, and so you have to pull that stuff down. Right. And so they ended up bringing a lawsuit against him. He pulls down the plans and everything, and basically they said, yeah, let's take this to court. Well, the government kind of wised up because, and I didn't really even think about this, but they kind of wised up and they decided that they wanted to settle what Defense distributed out of court. And everybody was kind of confused as to why that happened, or I say everybody, lots of people were. But the interesting thing, I guess, about that, and I didn't really think about this, and this is one of those second and third order effects thing. But if they were to they were going to lose, and by they being the government, would have lost, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the people or the person that wrote this article, and his attorney, obviously. But anyway, they were going to lose, and so if the government litigated this case and lost, then the decision for that case could be used to challenge other kinds of gun control laws in the future. So they didn't want to be dealing with that, so they settled out of court, kind of thing. And they raised the export bans and their export restrictions and basically said, yeah, you can do this. Well, that was back in, I think late June or maybe early July, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and also the argument was kind of reskinned, right? Because it's like what Defense Distributed was ultimately arguing was, is it illegal to have a blueprint for a gun?
Yeah. Yeah. Would that actually be considered, really like distribution of like firearms kind of thing? Right.
Well, it is not illegal. It is not at all illegal.
Yeah.
For you to make a gun in your house.
Yeah, exactly. And so but obviously their problem was, if this is a 3D printed gun, it's making that process a shit ton easier kind of thing. Cause it's like you literally download the instructions, you print the gun, it works, piece it together and it works kind of thing. Whereas these, like now, I think that you can buy all the parts and stuff to make a gun, but they can't be like certain parts. And I don't want to get into the gun law stuff because I'm not that familiar with it. But certain parts you can buy them to piece the gun together. But like I think it has something to do with what's the part that the magazine feeds into? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's called the receiver.
The receiver, there's something that has to do with the receiver, that it's like some kind of firing pin thing has to be deactivated, and so that you could put together a gun, but it wouldn't be able to fire unless you had the gunsmith knowledge enough to activate the receiver kind of thing.
Right.
It's something along those lines. I'm sure that I'm messing that up to some degree, but anyway. But yeah, like you said, totally legal to piece together your own firearm. I guess flash forward, and
Cody Wilson, the Austin man at the center of a national debate.
I hope that didn't record, but it might have. It just randomly started playing a video when I switched articles. But anyway, so flash forward to September 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, the articles start popping up that 3D gun promoter Cody Wilson is charged with sexual assault of a child. And he just so happens to be in Taipei, Taiwan, and he also just happened to miss his flight back.
Right.
Well, once they did a little bit more digging into the whole scenario, apparently he was on, and I thought this was kind of interesting, or honestly kind of funny, but there's some website called like Sugar Daddy Meetup or something like that.
Right.
And or sugardaddymeet.com. And he used some alias like Senuro or something like that. And he started talking to, I'm assuming that, I don't know. I don't know if he knew that she was 16. I don't know anything past that. But anyway, So he started talking to this chick, and they exchange like phone numbers. They start like messaging back and forth and stuff. And then they decide to meet up. Well, so they meet at like this coffee shop in Austin, and I believe it was in Austin. Mm-hmm. And then they end up going to a hotel. All of this is captured on the surveillance equipment at the coffee shop and at the hotel. So they have him on camera. They have his license plate that is basically, they trace back to a vehicle that's registered under Defense Distributed. Mm-hmm. He actually basically revealed his identity to her in all the messaging and everything, mm-hmm. as Cody Wilson. Mm-hmm. And she says that they went into the hotel and he sexually assaulted her, and then he paid her $500.
Well, hold on. They had sex, which is sexual assault.
Well, if they're underage?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's
okay.
And by the way, we'll get into the details here, but it's just, ultimately, that's why this is a really interesting, interesting thing that's evolving here. Go ahead.
Well, and the other thing is, speaking of evolution, is the fact that it's like, it's gone from, okay, he potentially had sex with a minor, to, wait a second, if this girl is involved in like being trafficked, basically, then that's going to amp this up like tenfold, mm-hmm. kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because then it completely, I mean, it's basically soliciting sex for money from a minor, you know, involved in a person trafficking incident kind of thing.
Right.
So, I mean, and all of this comes, month and a half, 2 months after the huge settlement with Defense Distributed. So.
Yeah. So it's go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, it's just, it is, in my opinion, it's sad for a multitude of reasons. Because, first of all, it's sad that, like, I feel sorry for the 16-year-old girl that is somehow caught up in all this shit, you know? Mm-hmm. First and foremost, no shit, that. Second of all, Cody Wilson being on the cusp of just, like, huge, I mean, that was just revolutionary, like, that, not revolutionary, what's the, maybe it would be revolutionary, but anyway, I mean, it's just a huge.
Absolutely. I mean, go ahead.
Well, no, it was just a huge thing to happen, and then all of it is going to be discredited and swept under a rug and all that shit by this fucking lack of good decision making. You know? I mean, it's just so much is being thrown away, I guess.
I can't really wrap my mind around what, like, it's so hard for me to imagine that libido outweighs just everything in decision making. Like, you see these CEOs, get wrapped up in this shit, right? And like, and you see these people of power, these people in powerful positions that have, like, clearly cannot fucking triangulate that while they're powerful, they're not that powerful. You know what I mean? Like, they're not so powerful that they can do this and it doesn't get reported or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's really crazy to me, man, that this guy who is, I mean, the reason the Defense Distributed is so interesting, yes, it's about the 3D printed guns. Sure, that's the, like, sexy, interesting, the part that's, like, piqued everybody's interest. But absolutely, it's about freedom of speech. 100%. Yeah. Having these files should not be illegal.
Yeah.
If you print these files and commit a crime, yes, that is illegal. But we don't prosecute thought crime, right?
Yeah.
It's like having the anarchist cookbook doesn't mean you're a terrorist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It may be circumstantially related to some shit that you do, but nevertheless, you can't arrest me for the books I read, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like that's the big thing here. And so it's just like you're fighting this crazy fight. You've committed your life, dude. I mean, there's no way that fucking Cody Wilson goes and like is an IBM consultant or whatever.
Yeah.
After years of you've chosen a path, you're never coming back from that path. And so to expose this kind of lifelong mission that you're on, to like expose that and to be so fucking reckless, frankly, in your behavior by even being on Sugar Daddy Meet or whatever the hell this website is called. That number one is absurd. Number two, you get into the details, like who knows if he knew that she was 16. I don't know. They kind of insinuate that maybe he did. And then
I think they had actually said the dude that's investigating him, the commanding officer that is investigating him said
the dude that's investigating the pothead that's like
whoa bro, do you know how old she was, man? They interviewed her, or they interviewed him in this article, and he said that if anyone mistakes her age, it would be that they thought that she was younger, not older.
And then the other thing here, man, and I know I want to be cognizant of the time here because we appreciate our listeners' time. We try to keep our episodes to a certain kind of corralled here, but the other thing is, just to put the tinfoil hat on, state the obvious. The other thing is like there are people in super powerful positions that would be stoked to see this guy go down in flames.
Yeah.
And so whether you did this or not, whether you knew or not, is beside the fucking point, man. Like the story will be whatever they write.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be an interesting one to track because, and again,
just like you said, I mean, dude, even exposing yourself to the potential of something like this.
Well, and here's the scary thing, the crazy scary thing, and then we'll truck on here. But this guy was in Taiwan, okay, which does not have an extradition arrangement with the United States at all, okay, according to what I was reading. The United States government steps in, cancels this guy's travel documents, nullifies them.
Yeah.
He is arrested in Taiwan because now his travel documents have been nullified, which means he's in the country illegally.
Yeah.
And extradited back to the United States. So, like, if you think that is the way things normally fucking work, you are incorrect.
Yeah.
Absolutely incorrect. Period.
Dude, that's why. Oh my god. Yeah.
So this is a deeper dive that I think we'll do, probably in subsequent weeks because I think we'll be following the story.
Yeah, for sure.
But that is not the way things work. And so to think that this guy, and when I say that's not the way things work, I'm not saying that like they didn't follow the law. I'm sure that is a loophole that people use. But I mean, let's remember, like, Julian Assange has been, by the way, that just reminded me, it wasn't Andreas Antonopoulos that made the comment about privacy. Excuse me. I want to correct that right now. It was Julian Assange.
Okay.
Because I was just recalling, I was reading a couple of their articles back to back, and there's some like crazy stuff going on in the Bitcoin community, not around privacy, but around code changes to Bitcoin Core. And I was reading that and the Julian Assange stuff at the same time, and I just remembered it was Assange that made the comment about the privacy. So I want to make sure that I corrected that. But You've got Julian Assange that's been, the founder of WikiLeaks, for those that don't know, that's been in staying in an embassy overseas, and is not being extradited to the United States because the United States doesn't have an an agreement to extradite with the country. Maybe it's Argentina or something. And so anyway, my point is that like that is something that people need to take note of, right? Like
normally it's not taken to that, to get someone back to the United States, they're not going to that extent.
That's exactly right. So anyway, man, let's truck on here. And you know what? Maybe this next article is a little bit distasteful in the context of this conversation, but fuck it, we're here. Yeah. So go ahead, man. Like tell us a little bit about this maybe kind of growing subgenre of porn.
Yeah. So like you said, we're coming up on time, so I'm gonna cruise through this pretty quickly, but I don't think that there's really a hell of a lot to be said.
I think it's interesting, man. I think it's totally interesting.
It was interesting, enough to bring up, in my opinion. So this article was from The Verge, and they were basically saying, what if porn but for women, kind of thing? Because obviously, like we were talking about pre-show, that it's just like, I mean, porn is pretty openly discussed among males, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and all of the cinematography, which I think technically it would be called, is very technically it would be called, is for dudes. Dudes are visual, and it's like, I mean, you sometimes like, walk the line from like, some of these close-ups are so intense. It's just like, this looks like a medical video at this point.
Yeah. No shit.
But yeah, so like visually, it's openly discussed, and most porn, I would say, is shot for a male audience.
Yeah. So The Verge looked into this, and I decided to cover this article. But they were basically saying that on the porn site Pornhub, which is like, I'm sure widely known by most people, or at least they've heard of it. Apparently the search term porn for women was a top trending search term for 2017. So this other I guess competitor of Pornhub called X Hamster, they took this information and they were like, wait a second. If lots of people are looking for porn for women, maybe not, whatever, then we want to start a company, and they launched this company called Porn for Women Development Fund. Okay, or I'm sorry, the X Hamster launched this fund. And basically what they do is they hand out grants for people that are willing to make porn for women. And I mean, like, these grants can go anywhere from $500 to $10,000. And so a little bit further into the article, because I was like, okay, porn for women, like, what exactly does that mean, And which you hit the nail on the head, which was really funny, because I like I said, Joseph and I were talking about this pre-show, and he was like, oh, well, this, that, and the other, and I was like, wow, that's actually really funny, because they tell you exactly what they expect to get from these people. And they said porn for women was defined as like a softer and presumably more female-friendly genre of erotic content, like good lighting, minimal close-ups of penetration, lots of cunnilingus, and an actual plot to the thing. So, I mean, like, I feel like there's a lot of I guess dramas out there that basically could be considered porn for women, but
okay.
Well, no, I mean, that was just a side note, but I just think that it's really interesting that it, with this, I guess with a more open-minded approach to just sexuality as a society, I think that this is going to become more and more prominent, just because people are more comfortable with discussing shit like this these days. You know, it's less stigmatized.
I think it's completely an underserved market.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I think women I think that,
well, maybe the reason they're not watching porn is because it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's like really, well, dude, I think it's interesting because porn, if you think about it, right, like people, you know, have fantasies and whatever, and porn is kind of like a manifestation of like, you know, whether it's good or bad is a totally different story. Yeah. But that's like what it does, right? Like it kind of gives people an outlet without going and like actually, you know, living out these things that could be destructive, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe psycho people that are kind of a little bit, psychopathic, maybe it gives them ideas and revs them up. I don't know. But I mean, for the majority of people, I'd say that it's, you know, it's just an outlet that's relatively harmless.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. I mean, I think that, this is going to be a huge genre. I think that, you know, most women, I think, you know, I mean, look, women have fantasies. Come on. Women are as much of, you know, sexual beings as men are. And so anyway, yeah, I think this is going to be this is a topic that's been around for a while, but I think with the advent of things like, frankly, the advent of things like Tinder, I think people are like way more open about hooking up and sexuality and all that. And so, I think it's going to be interesting. It'll be definitely one to follow. So speaking of, coming into the home stretch here, right?
Yeah.
First of all, man, journalism, Jesus, you know, like, I mean, some of the shit that gets published, it's like, you know, people are saying, they're like, God, why is nobody willing to pay for news? You know, like why are, you know, is journalism in this death spiral? Well, here's a headline from September 20th, right? Woman on vacation reportedly finds dead tortoise in her vagina. I mean, what the fuck?
I mean, dude, but so you're telling me that's not a common problem?
Well, and then the picture on this article is like an extreme close up of a tortoise, right?
Yeah.
Of a tortoise that is probably the size of a dinner plate.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just, I mean, you know, I sent this to Daniel and I was just like, this is so fucking absurd on so many levels. But, you know, so why not, you know, quote it, I guess, if it's this absurd. But anyway, this unnamed woman, is said to have sought help after suffering pain in her genital area, which doctors diagnosed as an infection caused by the reptile. So, apparently she told the police that she started to feel odd after going out and partying with a group of British friends. The size of the reptile is not been revealed. But dude, let me tell you something, man. If you ever party so hard that you find a turtle in your vagina or ass the next day, listen,
you need to fucking find new friends, man.
Not only that, but you need to like seriously commemorate the evening, you know, and just be like, do you remember that one time that we partied so fucking hard, Daniel got a turtle in his pee hole? You know?
Yeah, seriously.
Do you remember that shit? Like, do you remember he partied so hard that he had a snake in his ear and a turtle in his ass? Like, yeah. I mean, man.
He was just like, what? He was like, hold my beer. I'm going to stick as many animals and orifices as I can.
Good God, dude. I mean, that is serious shit. And by the way, if you ever have a party night like that, write us, please. Like, let us know. If anybody that ever hears this has ever partied so hard that they got a turtle in an orifice, we'd like to hear about it, because that's one to take note of. But
real quick, and we'll wrap. But the tags for this article are Spain, tourists, turtles, vacations, vaginas, WTF.
Yeah. So anyway,
accurate, man.
Thank you for this piece of this originated from the the Sun in the UK.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Sun is known for being a top quality rag, but anyway, thanks for the content, Sun. This is just absurd. And with that, we have just wrapped episode 16 of the Tether Radio Podcast. As always, we appreciate the time that you've spent with us today. Want to remind you just quickly that if you would like to shoot us a note, things you like, things you hate, anything in between, feel free to write us a note at tetherradio@gmail.com. That's TETHERRADIO@gmail.com. You can, of course, hit us on Twitter at tether_radio, the same handle on Instagram at tether_radio. And we are, of course, on Facebook at Tether Radio, all one word. Yeah, man, episode 16. Loved diving into these topics here. And DB, we will do the hustle and get another quality, tasty episode cooking on the stove for next week. So thanks so much for joining us. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Daniel.
And this has been the Tether Radio Podcast. We will see y'all next week.
Stay tethered, guys.